Have you ever eaten breakfast and somehow felt hungrier 2 hours later? Like your body's asking for more food even though you just ate? That's often not a willpower issue. It's a blood sugar issue. For many people, breakfast is where the glucose roller coaster quietly begins. One bowl of cereal, one piece of toast, even something that seems healthy, and suddenly you're crashing, craving snacks, or feeling tired before noon. Here's what most people don't realize. The secret isn't skipping meals or cutting carbs completely. It's starting your day with the right protein. Certain breakfast proteins digest slowly, stabilize insulin, and can keep your blood sugar surprisingly flat for hours. And no, it's not some expensive supplement or trendy superfood. It's something simple, backed by research, and probably already sitting in your kitchen right now. So what is the number one breakfast protein that helps prevent spikes, keeps you full longer, and supports steady energy all morning? Let's break it down, because this one small change can completely reshape the way you feel every single day. Most people don't realize that breakfast is often the most important meal when it comes to blood sugar control. Not because it's automatically the healthiest, but because it sets your entire metabolic rhythm for the day. When you wake up, your body is naturally more sensitive to glucose changes. In the morning, hormones like cortisol are higher as part of your natural wake-up cycle. Cortisol helps your body feel alert, but it also signals the liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream to provide quick energy. This is one reason blood sugar levels can already be slightly elevated when you first wake up, especially in people with insulin resistance. This is also connected to what researchers call the dawn phenomenon, where blood sugar rises in the early morning hours due to hormonal shifts. So before you even take your first bite of food, your body is already in a delicate glucose balancing act. That's why the first thing you eat tends to have a bigger impact than you expect. The problem is, most modern breakfasts are built almost entirely around fast-digesting carbohydrates. Cereal, toast, muffins, granola, pancakes, even smoothies that seem healthy. These foods break down quickly into glucose, flooding your bloodstream with sugar. Your body responds the only way it can, by releasing insulin to push that sugar into your cells. Now, insulin is not the enemy, it's a vital hormone. But when the first meal of the day causes a large spike, your body often releases a large insulin response to keep up. And that rapid rise and fall cycle can set the tone for unstable energy and cravings for the rest of the day. At first, you may feel fine, maybe even energized. But then something predictable happens. Within a couple hours, your blood sugar drops fast, sometimes even lower than where it started. That drop triggers hunger hormones like ghrelin and stress signals that make your brain search for quick fuel. This is when people often experience cravings, brain fog, irritability, shakiness, or that feeling that they need another snack just to function. This is the blood sugar roller coaster, and it's one of the biggest reasons people struggle with fatigue, overeating, weight gain, and constant cravings, even when they think they're eating normal. Research consistently shows that breakfast high in refined carbohydrates lead to higher post-meal glucose spikes, while breakfast higher in protein tend to improve satiety and reduce glucose variability throughout the day. What's even more surprising is that blood sugar swings don't just affect hunger, they affect the brain. Rapid glucose drops can increase stress hormones like adrenaline, which is why some people feel anxious or shaky after a high-carb breakfast. Over time, repeated spikes may also contribute to inflammation and reduced insulin sensitivity, making it harder for the body to regulate glucose efficiently. Even short-term blood sugar instability can impact concentration and memory, which is why many people feel mentally foggy after a sugary breakfast. Some researchers also suggest that stable glucose early in the day supports healthier appetite signaling later on, making it easier to avoid overeating in the afternoon and evening. So what's the solution? It isn't skipping breakfast. It isn't cutting carbs forever. It's changing the foundation of what you eat first. Because when you start breakfast with the right protein, everything changes. Protein slows digestion. It blunts the glucose spike. It keeps insulin lower and steadier. And it activates hormones like GLP-1 and peptide YY, which send powerful signals to your brain. You're full. You're safe. You don't need more food yet. In fact, studies have found that people who eat a higher protein breakfast often have reduced cravings later in the day and better blood sugar control after meals that follow, almost like the first meal creates a metabolic ripple effect. And among all breakfast proteins, one stands out as the simplest, most effective, and most overlooked. It's not a powder, not a bar, not some trendy superfood. It's something people have eaten for centuries, and it may be one of the most blood sugar-friendly breakfast proteins on Earth. That protein is eggs. And once you understand why eggs work so well, you'll never look at breakfast the same way again. So why eggs? What makes them different from other breakfast proteins? It comes down to one powerful fact. Eggs are almost the perfect blood sugar food. They contain high-quality protein, healthy fats, and virtually zero carbohydrates, which means they don't create a glucose spike on their own. When you eat eggs in the morning, your body gets sustained fuel without the sugar rush, but there's more happening beneath the surface. Egg protein is rich in essential amino acids, especially leucine, which plays a key role in stabilizing appetite, supporting muscle metabolism, and helping the body respond more efficiently to insulin. Leucine is especially important because it helps preserve lean muscle. And muscle is one of the body's biggest glucose sinks, meaning it helps absorb sugar from the bloodstream. So eating protein early in the day isn't just about feeling full. It's about improving the way your body handles glucose over time. When your body senses those amino acids, it releases hormones like GLP-1 and peptide YY, powerful signals that reduce hunger and slow stomach emptying. Translation? Eggs keep you full longer, and fullness is one of the most underrated blood sugar tools because cravings don't come from nowhere, they come from unstable glucose. When your blood sugar rises too fast, insulin rises too fast. Then when glucose drops quickly, the brain panics. It thinks you're running out of fuel. So it pushes you toward quick sugar, quick snacks, quick carbs. That cycle repeats all day. Eggs interrupt that cycle at the source. One reason eggs are so effective is that they digest slowly. Unlike sugary breakfasts that hit your bloodstream fast, eggs provide a gradual release of energy, which help prevent sharp spikes and crashes. In fact, researchers often describe eggs as a low glycemic food, meaning they have almost no immediate effect on blood sugar. And that matters, especially in the morning when the body's most vulnerable to glucose swings. Studies have found that people who eat eggs at breakfast often experience lower hunger levels, reduced calorie intake later in the day, and better glucose responses compared with high-carb breakfasts. In one well-known comparison, participants who ate eggs instead of a bagel breakfast felt fuller for longer and naturally consumed fewer calories throughout the day without trying to restrict food. That's the power of stable blood sugar. It reduces appetite noise. Eggs also provide healthy fats, which further slow digestion and help stabilize energy levels. And unlike processed breakfast foods, eggs are nutrient-dense, meaning you're getting more than just calories. Each egg contains important micronutrients like vitamin B12 for metabolism, vitamin D for immune and hormonal function, selenium for antioxidant support, and choline, which is critical for brain and liver health. Choline is especially important because the liver plays a central role in glucose regulation. A well-supported liver helps manage blood sugar more efficiently, especially overnight and into the morning. And unlike many health foods, eggs are incredibly accessible. They're affordable, easy to cook, portable, and endlessly customizable. Scrambled, boiled, poached, omelets. Eggs can fit into nearly any lifestyle. Now, some people worry about cholesterol, but modern nutrition science has clarified that for most individuals, dietary cholesterol from eggs does not automatically translate to higher blood cholesterol. In fact, eggs often improve HDL, the good cholesterol, which is linked to better cardiovascular protection. And when you look at the full picture, blood sugar stability may actually matter even more for long-term heart health. Chronic glucose spikes and insulin resistance are strongly connected to inflammation and metabolic disease. Another advantage of eggs is that they pair beautifully with fiber-rich foods like vegetables, avocado, or berries. These combinations create the ideal blood sugar-friendly breakfast: protein plus fat plus fiber. So when someone asks, what's the best breakfast protein to keep sugar flat for hours? Eggs rise to the top because they stabilize glucose, reduce cravings, and keep you satisfied long after breakfast ends. But the real power comes from what eggs replace, because that's where the transformation truly begins. Here's where things get interesting. The real magic of eggs isn't that they're some miracle food. It's that they replace the foods that spike your blood sugar the most. Think about a typical breakfast: a bagel with cream cheese, a bowl of cereal, toast with jam, a muffin and coffee. Even if portions seem reasonable, these foods are mostly starch and sugar, fast fuel that burns out quickly. And the reason they burn out so fast is simple. Refined carbohydrates digest rapidly. They turn into glucose almost immediately, which causes a sharp rise in blood sugar. The higher and faster that rise is, the stronger the insulin response becomes. This is important because insulin doesn't just lower blood sugar, it also signals the body to store energy. And when insulin spikes early in the day, it can increase hunger later, making it harder to feel satisfied or stay in control of cravings. So the question becomes, what happens when you swap that for eggs? Instead of starting your day with a glucose surge, you start with a steady metabolic signal. Your blood sugar stays flatter. Your insulin response is calmer. Your appetite is quieter. And suddenly you realize something. You're not thinking about food every hour. That's because protein-first breakfasts have been shown to improve something called post-meal glycemic control, meaning your body handles blood sugar more smoothly after eating, not just at breakfast, but sometimes for the meals that follow. Researchers sometimes refer to this as the second meal effect, where a balanced breakfast can actually reduce blood sugar spikes at lunch as well. And this matters because blood sugar isn't just about diabetes. It affects everyone. Even in people without a diagnosis, repeated spikes and crashes can lead to fatigue, mood swings, and increased cravings over time. Stable glucose helps the body stay in a better metabolic rhythm, which supports healthier eating patterns naturally. Many people describe this shift as feeling free from cravings for the first time in years, because stable blood sugar doesn't just affect energy, it affects mood, focus, and even stress resilience. When glucose levels swing rapidly, the brain interprets that as a form of metabolic stress. That's why people often feel anxious, foggy, or emotionally low after a high-sugar breakfast crash. The brain depends heavily on steady fuel, and sudden drops can trigger stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. So this isn't just about food. It's about how steady your body feels all day. Now, this doesn't mean you can only eat plain eggs every day. The best approach is building a balanced plate: eggs plus fiber plus healthy fat. For example, scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado, boiled eggs with berries and nuts, omelet with vegetables and olive oil. This combination slows digestion even further and supports long-term glucose control because fiber creates a physical barrier that slows sugar absorption, while healthy fat extends satiety. And if you do include carbs, pair them wisely. Eggs with whole fruit is very different from eggs with sugary toast. Whole fruit comes packaged with fiber and water, which slows glucose release. But refined grains and like white bread or pastries, and spike quickly because the fiber has been removed. The protein acts like a buffer. It slows the absorption of glucose so your body doesn't get overwhelmed. This is why people with insulin resistance or prediabetes often see measurable improvement when breakfast becomes protein-centered. It reduces glucose variability, lowers overall hunger, and helps prevent the mid-morning crash that drives people towards snacks and sugary caffeine. And here's the key point. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. One better breakfast can create a better lunch, a better afternoon, and fewer cravings at night. Because when the day starts with stability, it becomes easier to make balanced choices later, not through willpower, but through biology. And the best part? It doesn't require extreme dieting, just a smarter first meal. So now the question becomes, how do you actually use this in real life consistently? Because the goal isn't just one good breakfast. It's building a routine that feels easy, satisfying, and sustainable, even on busy mornings. That's what we'll cover next. So if eggs are the #1 breakfast protein for steady blood sugar, how do you make them work for your lifestyle? The first step is simple. Stop thinking of breakfast as a carb meal. Most people were raised on the idea that breakfast equals bread, cereal, oats, pastries. But your body doesn't need sugar first. It needs stability first. A good goal is around 20 to 30 grams of protein in the morning. That could look like 2 to 3 eggs plus a small side. Why does that protein target matter? Because research shows that higher protein breakfasts are linked to improved satiety, better appetite control, and reduced blood sugar fluctuations throughout the day. Protein helps slow the rate at which food leaves the stomach, meaning glucose enters your bloodstream more gradually instead of all at once. And that gradual release is what prevents the sharp insulin spikes that lead to crashes. If you want maximum blood sugar benefits, avoid pairing eggs with refined carbs like white toast, sugary cereals, or sweet coffee drinks. Instead, pair them with vegetables, healthy fats, whole food fiber, because fiber acts like a brake pedal on glucose. Fiber slows carbohydrate absorption and supports healthier gut bacteria, which may also play a role in metabolic regulation. Studies increasingly show that the gut microbiome influences insulin sensitivity, inflammation, and even hunger hormones. A powerful example, breakfast. Eggs sautéed with spinach, mushrooms, and olive oil. That meal digests slowly, keeps insulin steady, and fuels you for hours. Another ideal pairing is eggs with avocado, which adds healthy monounsaturated fats that improve satiety and help reduce the blood sugar impact of any carbs eaten alongside the meal. Now, one of the biggest reasons people struggle with breakfast changes isn't knowledge, it's convenience. That's why prep can be a game changer. Boil eggs ahead of time. Make egg muffins with veggies. Keep breakfast simple. Consistency matters more than complexity. Even 2 boiled eggs and a handful of berries is enough to shift your metabolic morning in a better direction. And here's something else many people overlook. A protein-rich breakfast can reduce nighttime cravings. When blood sugar is unstable early in the day, many people end up overeating later, especially in the evening, because the brain is still trying to recover from earlier crashes. A stable morning often creates a calmer appetite all day long. Now, if you don't eat eggs, you can still apply the same principle. Start with a slow digesting protein. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, tofu scramble. The key is protein first. But eggs remain the easiest and most effective option for most people because they're low cost, widely available, and naturally balanced. And don't forget, what you put on the side matters too. If you want to add carbs, choose slower options. Whole fruit instead of juice, oats instead of pastries, beans or lentils instead of white bread. The goal isn't zero carbs. The goal is slower carbs paired with protein. That combination creates blood sugar stability without restriction. And here's the bigger takeaway. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Just start your day differently. Because when blood sugar stays stable in the morning, your cravings are lower, your focus is sharper, your energy lasts longer, and your entire day becomes easier. That's why this isn't just about breakfast. It's about changing the metabolic signal you send to your body every single morning. One stable breakfast is like telling your body, we're not in a rush, we're not in crisis, we're fueled. And over time, those signals add up. Many people are shocked by how quickly they notice the difference, sometimes within just a few days. A steadier morning often leads to fewer mood swings, less dependence on caffeine, and more consistent energy throughout the afternoon. And when hunger is calmer, healthy choices become easier without forcing discipline. So if you want a simple place to begin, start with eggs, not as a trend, not as a hack, but as one of the most powerful natural tools for keeping blood sugar flat for hours and building steady energy from morning to night. Most people spend years trying to control cravings, energy crashes, and blood sugar swings, without realizing that the first meal of the day is often where it all begins. And this is where most people get it wrong. It's not about eating less or avoiding everything you enjoy. It's about starting with a breakfast that creates stability instead of spikes. Eggs work so well because they slow digestion, calm the insulin response, and keep hunger signals quieter for hours. That one shift can change how you feel, not just in the morning, but all day. And once you experience that steadier energy, you start to see how much of your appetite and mood is driven by biology, not willpower. Small changes at breakfast often create a ripple effect through the rest of the day. So if you want a simple, practical place to begin, start there. Try a protein-first breakfast and pay attention to what changes. And if this helped you understand the why behind blood sugar stability, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.